Stanley presents, oh, hey, that's me, The Further Adventures of Indiana Jones. Excelsior. Welcome.
It's time for The Further Adventures of Indiana Jones.
Some of the greatest adventures of my life are sitting in this museum.
Big deal.
Pack your bag, grab your passport, and prepare to go globetrotting with Marvel Comics' classic four-color adventures of Indiana Jones.
Oh, your teacher.
Part-time.
Mr. Henry Jones, Jr. of Princeton, New Jersey.
I like Indiana.
We named the dog Indiana.
Now, what shall we talk about?
3 years, 55 episodes, more than a dozen creators interviewed, numerous guest reviewers welcomed, and 34 comic book issues reviewed. Welcome, IndyCast listeners, to our review of the final issue of Marvel Comics, The Further Adventures of Indiana Jones. I'm Joe Stuber.
And I'm Keith Voss. Joe and I are sitting here in the Raven's Nest, knocking back a few rounds and reminiscing about the further adventures of Indiana Jones. The place is empty, and the bar is closed. Joe, it was June 13th, 2011, the day after the 30th anniversary of Raiders of the Lost Ark, that we began this project. And what a project it's been. It's been quite a retrospective, been a long road.
Has it been
a lot
3
learned.
years?
It's been 3 years. It's been 3 years.
Did the series last that long?
A
little over that, yeah.
A little over that. Quite a long road.
Nice run, my friend. I've enjoyed every second of this segment with you.
And this segment would not have been possible if it wasn't for you, my friend. You have done so much work on this segment that it's unbelievable.
And you as well. I mean, having one of us sit around talking about comic books would be strange in and of itself. So
yes, but two is even stranger.
Well, that was the thing. Well, I didn't think of it that way. You guys sitting in a room talking about comic books, I guess that is kind of strange. Now, we talked about that. I mean, this goes back a ways. I mean, you and I kind of met through the IndyCast on Pat's trivia segment. That's right. The Trivia Brotherhood, and we were talking about these things, and we would get together and kind of chat about trivia questions, but we would also talk about the expanded universe of Indiana Jones, and of course, that involved the Marvel Comics series and how we really loved this series. And I think it got to the point where we were just having so many of these conversations. It was like, well, why don't we just hit record and throw these out there and see if anybody listens, see if anybody likes it.
Exactly. And again, just learning so much about these books, things that we never knew was even out there. It's really been an exciting time, not only just talking to you about it, but hearing from all the fans and all the artists and everybody involved with the book. It's been such a wonderful experience to get to really delve deep behind the scenes into this series that we loved so much growing up. Really the first bit of expanded universe Indiana Jones stories that we got after Raiders came out. And man, when I was a kid, I ate it up, and I'm still, 30 years later, still eating up these stories. I love them to death.
Yeah, we've got them reprinted in the Dark Horse Omnibus series.
They look fantastic.
So yeah, it's reached a new. Yeah, they do. It's reached a whole new generation. Some people have mentioned that they weren't aware of this series. So we kind of, by talking to the creators, by getting those background interviews, we sort of got a peek behind the curtain. So we were able to introduce this maybe to a whole new generation of individuals we talked to. So it's been fun. I mean, it's been an incredible ride. But of course, none of it would have happened without Ed Dollista. So thanks for giving us a platform. Because again, other than that, it's just Keith and myself sitting around talking about comic books. So
exactly,
we thank you for that. But then the listeners, my goodness, the IndyCast listeners have really responded to this. We thank you so much because again, it's just Keith and myself talking. So you gave us a reason to put this out there. So good on you.
Thank you very much, everybody.
Oh, let's quick and modeling. I'm going to start crying.
Hold on. Let me get my box of tissues here before we start the actual rundown here.
Ooh, give me another drink.
Whiskey?
I hope Tote doesn't come in at some point and start
The
muscling
bar is
us around here.
closed. No, it's just the two of us. So
If it's just a shootout at the end, then I'm okay. But let's see what happens.
you've got the gun and the whip at the ready, I believe. So
Yeah, I always do.
hey, let's talk about this issue. Further Adventures of Indiana Jones, issue number 34. Keith, give us that creator rundown, will you?
The final creator rundown for the Further Adventures of Indiana Jones, issue number 34, Double Play, Chapter 3. Something's gone wrong again. Cover date of March 1986. Last cover by Keith Pollard. Script by Linda Grant. Pencil Steve Ditko. Inks Danny Bulinati. Covers Ken Fedunovich. And letters Diana Albers.
Yeah, and again, we talk about that cover, man. It's just a lot of home runs by Keith Pollard. I mean, say what you will about the run, but I really love his covers. And we got Doctor Strange again, which is kind of awesome. We got Doctor Strange. We've got Skeletons. We've got, I think, a great indie. Kind of reminds me a little bit of Kerry Gamble's indie.
Yes, he does. Absolutely.
The detailing is credible.
This, I mean, if you're looking at this cover in the omnibus, this cover just pops. The colors are so bright. This is a beautiful cover. You see Indy lifting that beam off of Amanda Knight and Ian Soames just breaking through that wall. We don't quite know where Indy is yet. He's inside some type of structure. But this cover ranks, I think, along with some of the best in the entire run.
I agree. I completely agree. If this is on the newsstand back in the 80s, you're buying it.
Exactly. This
not enough bought it though to save the book.
Unfortunately,
I was buying it. You were buying it. A lot of us bought it. But yeah, that's a fantastic cover. That's the Indiana Jones we like. He's got the whip at the ready, and he's struggling. I mean, that's just an awesome cover. I really like it.
Me too. It's again unfortunate that this is the last cover, but man, what a way to go out.
She's screaming because the series is over or because the sales weren't there to save them? I don't know. Well, Wilhelmina is telling us that that's our spoiler alert. We love Wilhelmina. Yep, we're going to ruin the book for you. If you're new to the Further Adventures of Indiana Jones, either read along with us, pause it, check it out, come back to us. But yeah, we're going to tell you the whole story. And I think it's a pretty solid story. It's a lot of story. But I think it's a pretty solid one. We always talk about how the Further Adventures probably was a better book when they were multiple stories instead of just one-shots.
Yes, I totally agree.
We got it. We got a miniseries. We're wrapping things up with a 3-part miniseries. Actually 4 if you count issue 28's prequel, Tower of Tears.
That's right.
But yeah, we're concluding the story arc, and right off the bat, we're kind of told what's going on here on page 1. We've got a little bit of expositional dialogue, Keith.
That's right, we do. But that's okay. Speaking of Steve Ditko's art, like we've mentioned quite a few times on this show, if you compare last issue's page, the page of last issue, to the first splash page of this issue, it's almost like a totally different artist is doing this work. I guess he had a little bit more time to get this one out. I mean, it's way more detailed. It looks way more action-packed, and I don't know, things just look a little bit more grittier.
So much of it is so good, but as you'll learn when you read this issue, if you haven't already, there's so many panels in this issue, and there's so much artwork. So many. Yeah, and so the artwork kind of comes and goes as far as the quality, because you think there's a lot of artwork Ditko had to produce for this particular issue. But I like the splash page. We see Indy kind of battling these skeletons. This isn't Army of the Dead. This is actually, in my opinion, better than Army of the Dead.
Oh man, that is a point of contention we'll have for a long time.
Oh, that's what makes this. That's what makes the segment so great. We can debate
Army
that
of the
book
Dead
until the skeletons come home.
It's a good book. Anyway,
an ancient amulet stolen from Connecticut's National Museum has fallen into the hands of Dr. Strange. I'm sorry, Ian Soames, a self-proclaimed sorcerer, archaeologist. Indiana Jones must recover it before Soames unleashes its mysterious power. Unfortunately, seems Indy's a little too late. Yeah, Dr. Strange / Ian Soames has called up this army of Viking warriors with the power of the ley lines that are going through the earth with the amulet. Yeah.
He's not too happy about Indy's role in the death of his spiritual brother in Iran, which was back in issue number 28. These Vikings are returning, and he wants them to... Soames wants them to slay this defiler of ancient graves. But first, some exposition.
Yeah, well, have at it. Give us a little expositional dialogue there. Catch us up, Keith.
Oh my goodness. So first, Indy is really angry at Amanda Knight for getting him into this mess. Amanda Knight first passed herself off as Victoria Keith from the British Museum. She steals his keys and robs the museum. So then Indy learns that she also stole a Sumerian amulet, once spoken of in an ancient legend. According to the legend, on the old tablet, 7 evil sorcerers living in 7 towers once ruled the earth, and that amulet was the weapon that stopped them. I mean, they just thought it was a worthless piece of junk sitting in the museum. They didn't know. Didn't have any.
But we know who was behind all this. It was Ian Soames, and he wanted this amulet. He's the one of the 7. Again, basically, what we found out was that they're trying to get this power from the earth, from these ley lines, through the amulet, so that they can bring about the destruction of the world. It's Indiana Jones stuff. It's end of the world kind of stuff. And Indy and Amanda...
Dogs and cats living together. Mass hysteria.
Indy and Amanda try to get away, and now we see where Indy has been caught in the middle of this field of these skeleton army Vikings coming to life. And it's interesting that he can kind of take them out one at a time because they're just a bunch of old bones and things. But Ian makes the point that if there's thousands of them coming at him, he just can't get a foothold there. And so, Indy tries to take this knife. He's going to take Ian out, thinking he can take him out and just so that he loses the grip over these skeletons. Amanda's got kind of an idea where she grabs the amulet, sort of by mistake, and he gets hit with this reflected moonlight that's going into it and takes him out a little bit. So we know that he can be hurt by this amulet.
But wouldn't it be a little risky to wear this thing out at night then? If this thing can just catch the moonlight at any moment and burn your face off? Wouldn't that be a little... Okay, maybe I shouldn't wear this outside.
I don't think Ian's thought it through that much. He seems a little power hungry at this point.
I don't think Linda Grant's thought it through that much.
No.
To be honest, but...
There's a lot of suspension of disbelief in this issue, kind of as we go through it. But
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so the skeletons get the upper hand on Indy, and so Ian's kind of taken out with this this amulet kind of reversed on him. Indy tries to take him out with a knife. Amanda takes off. And so Ian's going to go after her because she's got the amulet. He needs the amulet back. And what that does is it kind of releases the hold over these skeletons so Indy can kind of, take them out a little bit. But then something strange happens where all the skeletons start to melt back into the earth, it says. And it's like, well, how did that happen?
But by the way, did you get a sense of when Indy grabs that knife? It was almost Cairo swordsman-y. He was just ready to just throw that knife and kill him instantly.
Oh yeah, take him out because he realizes that's where the power's coming from. So
exactly.
whatever he's doing,
the power was coming from Ian, or as we maybe find out later, they could be coming from these ley lines because who shows up but none other than Crazy Angus himself.
Crazy Angus, yeah.
Good
we
old
were introduced
Angus.
to him in the last episode, in the last issue. And Crazy Angus is coming in. He kind of Indy keeps saying, "I'm not a devil. I'm not." It's Crazy Angus, and Angus has thought Indy was the devil in the last one. But basically, he's saying that only the power stolen from the ley lines could move them. So I guess Crazy Angus kind of made the power go back into the earth, or he controlled it with his divining rod he has. I don't know. I start getting a little bit lost in the story here because it's like, is Crazy Angus in control of things? Is Ian, Doctor Strange, in control of things? Who knows?
Yeah, or is the amulet in control of things? We just don't quite know kind of what's going on here.
No.
But
and
Indy
Indy's
comes to
trying
the
to figure it
conclusion
out too.
Yeah, he comes to the conclusion that Soames is tapping this earth energy to raise the dead. At least that's his thought at the moment.
Yeah, but again, it gets real wordy and thing. It's a lot of story, and you just want some action. And they're kind of hiding there as we see Ian running off into the night to find Amanda Knight, and he's screaming into the night for that Amanda Knight's not going to get away with these things. And so let's Crazy Angus and Indy make their getaway.
And now, a word from our sponsor.
Well, it wouldn't be a true Further Adventure segment if we didn't include at least one last commercial break, would it?
No,
This is one of the strangest ones yet.
This is one of the strangest. You sent me some of this, some of these pages, and I, again, if you're reading through the original issue and you see that Captain America the musical, I mean, what?
It's like, Captain America with a top hat and a cane doing the old soft shoe.
If you're blue and you don't know where to go to, why don't you go where fashion sits?
And it says, Cap's going to star in a Broadway show, and maybe you can star with him. What in the world?
Yeah.
This is very strange.
It is very strange. And, I mean, obviously they're doing, like, you know, all kinds of superhero stuff now. I mean, they did the Spider-Man musical. I've never seen that.
What was it called?
Yeah, I don't even know.
Please turn it off.
I mean, does this stuff translate? I mean, we know it translates well to the movie theater, but does this translate well to the Broadway show? I mean, they have Rocky now out on Broadway. They have all these.
I mean, don't forget, you had in the 60s, you had It's a Bird, It's a Plane, It's Superman. So we had that, and actually the original Superman, Bob Holliday, had a little message from him on Comic Book Central recently, one of the original Superman. And Bugs Bunny Meets the Superheroes, it was a touring show. So yeah, it had come up from time to time. But it was interesting that Marvel, at the time, wanted to bring Captain America to life on the Broadway stage. And it's just a strange little ad here. It says, if you're a girl between 10 and 14... very specific here, who can sing, dance, and act up a storm, you might be just the person Cap's looking for. He needs a bundle of talent to play his very special friend in Captain America, a musical spectacular due to hit Broadway next spring. Interested? And it tells you where you can send your photo. Yeah, it's crazy, but what we did was we did a little homework, and if you have Back Issue Magazine, number 46, issue number 46, there's a great article in here by Andy Mangels, and he mentions the whole backstory and what this was. This sort of musical that never went anywhere, and it shows the ad.
So it never had like an opening at all?
No, it never came to fruition.
Came to fruition.
No, but a lot of pre-production, and it lists all the songs. If you get that article, it lists all the songs that are in Captain America. And I thought it was interesting, some of the casting. Hal Linden from Barney Miller. Barney Miller himself was supposed to play Captain America, or was it one of the possibilities?
I thought you were going to say Abe Vigoda for a second.
Abe Vigoda. Fish.
That would have been interesting.
He's going to play Bucky.
I think, no, he would have played Red Skull.
The Red How awesome would that have been? Linda Lavin. Linda Lavin, Alice.
Oh my God, that would be.
Yeah, it was like all this crazy things. Yeah, and they started talking about, it was going to be like an over the hill Captain America, and kind of looking back his life and different. I don't know. Anyway, it goes into great detail in this article. Back Issue Magazine, issue number 46. Great article there. Take a look at that. But yeah, certainly one of the strangest advertisements I've ever seen.
And there it is inside the Further Adventures of Indiana Jones. Now that is a relic that needs to be found.
That makes this issue one of my favorites automatically.
Absolutely, hands down.
All right, so back to our story, and we are at Crazy Angus's Hovel on the Beach. Would this not be like the greatest name for a bar ever? I mean, I love the Raven's Nest, but Crazy Angus's Hovel?
Yeah, what would the specialty be? Crazy Angus burgers?
Crazy Angus sliders.
Oh my goodness! Yeah, that would
devil.
be a pretty.
Well, he's serving Indy some tea, so we'd have to serve some tea there or something. But yeah, so Indy and Crazy Angus are kind of hanging out here, and Indy's like, I got to go back and get my gun and whip, which I apparently left back at the hotel.
That bugs me. That bugs me so much. Indy, I mean, come on. It wasn't like Willie dropped the gun.
No.
You know what I mean? Like it was at his hotel. He
took off out, crashed through the window, but it was like, we talked about that in the last segment, how strange that was. And Angus was like, don't go out on the moors, the moops. The moops. Don't go out on it's not safe. What does he say here? Wait till the morn when the moors are safe. Dark things cannot bear the light of day. Well, that's kind of tips Indy off. He's like, whoa, light? I remember light reflected. So he's like kind of putting these things together. And he's figuring out how to get to Ian. But then apparently Crazy Angus also has like the smelling power of a dog, because he can like pick up people's scent.
Either that or Amanda, who they find hidden in a crate. She smells really bad. She hasn't been showered.
Smells really
for the
bad or
last
uses
2
a lot of
days.
perfume. I don't know which one it
Exactly.
is.
Exactly.
But yeah, they find her. She's got the amulet. Her and Indy argue a lot. It's like, oh, I was just trying to help you out. I risked my life to get the amulet. And he's like, oh, you just grabbed it by accident. Anyway, her plan is to just get in the plane, fly out of there. And of course, Indy, he's Indiana Jones. He's going to figure out how to take out Ian. Because he's trying to figure out the history of this thing. He's talking about the legend. It was connected to the Eye of Shamash, the Sumerian sun god. Again, there's a panel here where
she's
Amanda,
not buying any of it, too.
No,
She's
there's
not
a panel where she asks, "Is class over yet, Professor?" And I'm kind of like the same way. I'm like, yeah, really. It's like, how many panels of dialogue here can we get? Can we just like
you could have
shoot
summed
something
up
or hit something,
2
Indy?
or 3. But the thing, I mean, it's Indiana Jones. We do need some exposition about the artifact, about the MacGuffin. Yeah, we do need that. But it didn't have to be. I mean, didn't we find out some things about this amulet in last issue? I mean, it could have been summed up.
We know what it is.
The most. We know what it is exactly.
Yeah.
It's just, I mean, it's a solar transformer created by the Sumerians, like we mentioned. Indy has seen weird things, he says, and this reminded me a little bit of the headpiece to the Staff of Ra.
Yeah, it did. And well, the light coming through, the sunlight, reflecting, all those different things. So I thought it was an interesting little Raiders callback, if that is indeed what it is. But again, Amanda's shifty. She's like, you know what? You take your little trinkets or whatever. I'm getting out of here. And she starts to sneak out. And then all of a sudden, bum, 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 Doctor Strange comes through the door again. And he's like, I want my amulet. So
yeah, and he's like, he comes in like with like some type of force wind power.
Yeah.
And he's
so
like,
now he can control the forces and the elements. But I guess that goes to the ley lines or whatever. I still don't understand any of that stuff.
Yeah, it's never quite explained.
No.
That's the thing. I mean, again, most of the we talked about this off air. A lot of the MacGuffin powers are kind of left unexplained. Really, we see what they can do, but we're never quite sure. Where they come from or how they are, but this just gives us really almost nothing. It's just, all right, they're ley lines. Okay.
Yeah. And then there's this whole thing about Angus's power because, Crazy Angus says he's the 7th son of a 7th son and he and Soames go toe to toe. It's like, wait, what? Who has
He's
the
the
power
lead singer
here?
of Iron Maiden, apparently. 7th son of a 7th son.
It's so strange.
It's really
I don't know
weird.
who's doing what. Who's the evil? I mean, I guess Soames because he's so evil and he's trying to kill people. But what's Crazy Angus's deal? What's his deal? But anyway, Indy's like, I'm just getting out of here. They take off as the two are doing battle. Indy's trying to get back to get his gun and his whip, and then we find out as we get back while the two are battling there, we hear the screams. Something's going on, and Indy comes across the townsfolk again. Sinclair's got his gun and whip, and here we get another subplot, which is interjected into the book at this point, which is the final issue. I thought it was a strange place to put it. But remember back, they were like trying to get rid of Indy, like, hey, why don't you take the slow butt out of here? And why don't you get out? They just didn't want anybody to find out about the treasure.
The treasure of Magnus Redhand, who is a Viking pirate.
Who?
And yeah, exactly. And like you mentioned before, the last issue they want to get Indy out of there, but then he mentioned Belloc showed up. I wonder if Belloc was showing up looking for the treasure of Magnus Redhand. Now that would have been a cool subplot, something to further explore in later issues. But we jumped ahead a little far. I mean, we hear that scream when Amanda and Indy leave. Does that mean Crazy Angus is dead? I mean, Angus is like, he doesn't show up anymore. Like, that's it. Like, we see Angus and Ian Soames like start get into a little bit of a verbal argument here, and Ian says like, I have the power. He thinks he's He-Man apparently.
Yeah.
And then he's
well,
gone.
Even asked, did Angus beat Soames or did he? We better go. I don't know. It's just there's so many characters. Yeah, there's so many characters introduced in this, and I really don't know the motivation behind all of them. I mean, it's an interesting adventure at this point. It's very Indiana Jones-like, but there's just so much going on. And just look at the size of the panels here. Again, I love Ditko's art in a lot of places, but there's so many panels. They almost look like postage stamps at this point. And there's just so much going on. And then again, we get the subplot with the Viking pirate, which explains they're in the Viking burial grounds there, and that's why the Vikings were coming up through the ground. The townsfolk were still going on about Indy being the evil one because he gave the evil eye to Douglas and killed him. And then they start reasoning, oh, wait a minute, didn't he drink the scotch that was poison? It's like, really? You guys haven't figured that part out yet?
It's been a whole month.
It's been a whole month, and 2 months now with the book every 2 months. And the panels are getting smaller and smaller, and the words are getting bigger and bigger.
And Leon's getting larger.
Yeah, and it's again like what we talked about last issue. I mean, if you're a 12 or 13-year-old kid who just saw Raiders and is into, or just saw Temple of Doom, actually, you're into Indiana Jones, you're into all the action. I mean, it's way too wordy.
Yeah, with the minecart fresh in your mind, all the action sequences.
I mean, the truck chase. I mean, all of these action sequences. You don't need so much exposition here for the 13-year-old fan. For guys like us, the older fans, we appreciate a little bit more exposition, but we also like our share of action as well.
Right.
There's just not much of it.
No, there's a lot of people talking. Again, all the artwork is fighting with the word balloons. You can almost imagine Ditko just throwing up his hands in frustration at like all the everything that has to be done here. But yeah, and then Soames shows up, and they're like kind of like on his side, but then finally the townsfolk start to realize that he's dressed like Doctor Strange. And it's like, oh, why? And wait, isn't that crazy Angus's rod that you have there?
And he crushes in his hand. I mean, he crushes it in like his hand.
It takes the townsfolk a long time to figure a lot of this out, but at that point it's too late because then these powers start getting whipped up again, and that windstorm comes through. At least Indy got his whip, and at least he got his whip back. I don't even know if he got his gun back.
Yeah, I don't think so. And he still has his hat.
And he still has his hat, so that's kind of cool. Yeah, and they're running around. So now Indy's starting to put the pieces together, and he's thinking, okay, you got the 7 sorcerers, and they had the towers, and where's his tower? Why doesn't Soames have a tower? And Amanda's like, hello?
You mean that lighthouse that's right there?
How did Indy not? They're standing in front of it.
And everybody was running to it, and he heard chanting. I mean, we never quite heard where that chanting, what that chanting was, where it was coming from. No. But I mean, let's put 2 and 2 together here, guys. I mean, everybody was running towards that lighthouse.
Yeah.
Okay, 7.
That's the focal point, and even Crazy Angus said that's where the ley lines were.
Exactly. So there you are, guys.
Yeah, and we get the double-faced Indy spinning his head around again, so that joke pops back in again. So yeah, the Indy again. Amanda wants to get her plane, get out of there, but Indy kind of figures, look, if I don't first of all, I'm Indiana Jones, so I got to take care of the villain and got to take care of Ian Soames. But his goal is to destroy the world. Now he's shown that he has some powers over something. So if they don't take care of him now, they're gonna have to take care of him later. So Indy kind of figures that out. He goes into the lighthouse. Amanda's just getting out of there, but then all of a sudden the Viking skeletons come back up again.
How? I don't know. I guess.
I mean, Ian's there, but was it? Yeah. I don't know. Was it Crazy Angus? I don't know. But it's the same joke, or it's the same trope, the same plot point, whatever you want to say. And I just thought that was kind of a cheat to go back to it again. I mean, do something a little bit different. I mean, we've already seen that. It was a very cool visual, but we've done it. I mean, you don't keep bringing up the same things all the time, in a story. And again, more panels. They're running into the lighthouse.
It's just Indy and Amanda arguing the whole time.
A lot of it, yeah.
And it doesn't quite work as well as it would as with Indian Marion or Indian Willie, or I mean, it just doesn't quite work. It just seems like a lot of complaining, and it's just not.
I was hoping Dovchenko would show up here at some point.
Oh, for the love of God, shut the hell up!
Yeah. Yes, that would have been pretty nice. That would have been way better than what we get here. And I mean, it seems like Amanda Knight just changes so radically between the first issue that she was in and this issue. She just seems so much more with it and together in the first issue.
Yeah.
And this issue, she's just complaining and saying, "All right, I just want to get out." You know, yeah. I don't know.
We do get kind of a cool visual where they're trapped in this lighthouse. They're trying to figure out, I guess they're waiting for the sun to come up so they can take Ian out with the sunlight, through the amulet. Again, it's a little vague about all those things. But it's kind of cool. We got the skeletons banging on the door, and then one of the swords comes right through. Indy's like, oh, this door's solid oak. They can't get in. It's like famous last words. So that's very Raiders-like. That's kind of a very Indiana Jones thing to have happen. You say something, and then there's the joke and the punchline. But again, there's minuscule panels of just them talking about the amulet and waiting for the sun to come up. And then Indy doesn't wait because he knows the skeletons are getting in. So I thought this was a strange series of events. He kind of attaches the amulet to his whip, crashes through the window of the top of the lighthouse, whips it up onto the top to hopefully catch a moon ray. You know how small that amulet is? And then this beam comes down, which, like you said before, is kind of like the headpiece of the Staff of Ra. But it's like, how are you going to hit Ian with this little, it's so real. Just run
even
down and blast him with it.
Even if he sees it coming, I mean, it's like,
just step to the
I think
left.
I'll just move
one
step to the left.
Well, he even says your reach is exceeded only by your ignorance, and he's, whatever.
It's not the most well thought out plan. Let's put it that way. But I mean, this amulet too. I mean, I don't know if we mentioned it before. I mean, if it uses fake light, if it doesn't use actual sunlight, it starts to crack and break and get very brittle.
Yeah.
So like you already see the cracks in it, and this. I mean, this is not a very powerful item, I guess. I mean, couldn't you use something else to reflect the moonbeams? Couldn't you go back to Indy's hotel and get a
big mirror or something?
A big mirror or something?
I guess it has something to do with the amulet and the eye of whatever.
Yeah, I don't know.
The icons of Icamanan or whatever.
Not buying it.
No, and then we've got the pretty cool fight with the skeletons. I mean, again, some pretty cool Ditko artwork. I'm okay with that.
Yeah. The work is consistent.
Yeah, and they're trying they miss the beam. The beam misses him. It's like, okay, Ian's standing in one spot, and they're trying to get this one little area. But then, so here we got to wrap it up. So Indy grabs the whip. He uses it to aim the beam at Ian, which kind of hits him, and all of a sudden the beam has become expanded to like full body size, which I don't even get how that happened.
I think through the lighthouse.
Yeah, it just. Some cool visuals again. This Viking skeleton, kind of coming at Indiana Jones, and basically what happens is
his head off with the axe.
Yeah, and Ian realizes he's kind of done at this point, so he's going to use his powers to just bring the whole lighthouse down around Indy.
Well, Indy mentions that the tower, the lighthouse, is like that Soames is using it as like a giant storage battery for the ley line power, and he can't afford to destroy it. But Amanda says, well, think of the position we've put him in. He can't afford not to destroy it. So Ian, I think at this point, just wants to get rid of that tower with Indy and Amanda inside of it.
Yeah. And again, a lot of panels to tell us that. And we've got 10, 12 panels here of Indy and Amanda arguing about he's going to go back for the amulet because he's Indiana Jones and knowledge is important.
Belongs in a museum.
Belongs in a museum. So he really wants his amulet.
Even though they called it a pile of junk in the first issue, he's like, it's just a piece of junk. Nobody cares.
Right.
But I mean, it's Indiana Jones.
Right.
Now that he's realized this thing is worth something and it is quite powerful, it can't fall into the wrong hands.
Yeah. So even there's a lot of craziness, and I don't buy into a lot of it. I think we do get a kind of a cool moment here at the end because Ian's kind of getting powered down. He's throwing everything at Indiana Jones. Indiana Jones throwing everything at him, and he says, talking about Indy, why don't you fall? What kind of man are you, Jones? Perhaps surviving is in your nature as power is in mine. So yeah, we kind of get the two. It's kind of a neat moment here, but then, he throws everything at the lighthouse and we get one final further fight. Krakow!
That's right.
Which is very reminiscent of what happened in issue 28. The tower comes crashing down, and of course Indy survives. I don't think, did he get thrown? That's a long fall.
That's a long fall. But it's
we
funny.
We said that in issue 28 was the same thing,
Yeah, it's funny, and he makes a comment here. Now I know how King Kong felt after the airplanes got him.
Well, King Kong died. Indy didn't. That's a long fall. But anyway, and he lost his hat. But it's right there. So he's like, I lost everything. Soames is gone, and Amanda's gone, and the amulet's gone. And then the amulet drops into camera range, and it's Amanda. She's there. And she thinks more arguing, but and Indy's like, she's like, why did you go back for this amulet? Why did you do that? And he's like, hey, what can I say? It comes with the territory, and that it does. It's Indiana Jones, and that comes with the territory.
Can't handle it, hit the road.
That's right, and so that's exactly what Amanda does. She's going to hit the road. She throws the amulet at Indy. Take it. I'll get my finder's fee. Makes kind of a joke. If we stole it in the first place. But yeah, so we're wrapping up this issue of Further Adventures. With Indy kind of standing amidst the ruins.
And the series.
Yeah. Of these Viking skeletons. You got the skulls kind of hanging over. Kind of a neat visual. And he kind of wonders if Soames survived. Well, we see Soames' skeleton there in the foreground, so...
Or did Soames just dress up one of those skeletons?
Who knows? I guess we'll never know.
Yeah, we'll never know. Exactly. That is the end.
Well, Keith, thoughts on the miniseries as it stands, the wrap up for the... I thought it was an okay way to kind of wrap things up. We did get our multi-story arc that we wanted. We got a lot of action. We got a lot of dialogue. But we did get some cool moments, and I think there are worse issues of Further Adventures that we could have ended on.
I agree. I thought it started off much stronger than it ended, and I would have liked to have seen a little bit more action. I mean, throughout this series, throughout this miniseries. Good story, not great.
Yeah.
I wish they could have explored it a little bit more. I mean, if there are 7 sorcerers out there, and he already took 2 of them down, there's 5 left to go.
Right.
I would have liked to have seen this continue. That would have been quite fast. I mean, that would have been
not if it's the
material
same thing. You're just taking towers down.
Exactly. But I mean, it would have been quite interesting. I mean, we could have had at least another 15 issues of Further Adventures just with that storyline, and I think it was a missed opportunity. I think it was cool. It's a shame that the rest of that story never really saw the light of day.
Yeah, or the characters Alex Sutherland and Tavistock. We had
they were just gone.
Yeah,
no
we
Marcus,
had some good questions. We had some good characters introduced. Could have been, and we actually were supposed to get an issue number 35. I mean, that was the intention. We talked about this on the show before. Readers of the Lost Ark, issue 32, the letters column, where Maggie Probert had written in and said, "Dear Indie People, back in issue 25, Marion left and we haven't seen her since. Where'd she go?" Well, it says the response was, "This is just what we've been wondering, Maggie, and we'll all find out together in issue 35. Don't miss it." Okay, and it was solicited in Marvel Age. I was ready to go, but as we found out and as we talked about, we did a little homework. It's like, you know what? That was probably just a marketing thing. They were just soliciting those issues ahead of time. No artwork, no plot, nothing. We know Marion was supposed to come back, but beyond that,
that's about it. That's about it. And we did get a nice little April Fool's Day joke from our good buddy over at the Raven, Junior Jones. He came up with a very cool cover for issue 35. You could see that cover both over at theraider.net and at our Further Adventures Facebook page. He did a great job putting that one together.
Cool, he had a lot of work on that.
A lot of work put into that, and I think he got a few of us with that. But
that was pretty cool.
Well done.
That was well done. Favorite issues on the Further Adventures run? What were some of your favorites? I mean,
oh man,
obviously right off the bat, Icons of Icamanon, I think was
Icons of Icamanon. I mean, I definitely loved the Gold Goddess issues, issue number 9, issue number 10. I mean, Africa Screams, of course, was great.
The covers on the
the
Africa
covers
Screams,
are
it's one of my favorite covers. Actually, it's on my shirt as we sit here, my Further Adventures t-shirt.
There you go. I mean, of course, the Gold Goddess, which we adapted into a radio drama. I mean, I love those issues. Got to meet Dan Reed.
Gateway to Infinity, Stonehenge.
Awesome, great stuff.
That was
Fourth Nail. Big fan of the Fourth Nail.
Yeah.
I thought that those books were quite great. But I mean, you know what?
What about Search for Abner too?
Search for Abner.
And we verified it's Abner.
It's Abner. It's him.
Sort
of. Dragon by the tail.
Sure, throw it in. Why
not?
It's just Bugnut's crazy enough to include
Exactly. And honestly, Joe, as a whole, the series was solid. A lot of fun. There were some hits and misses, but it was a lot of fun to read these books again and go through them again after all these years. It's say what you will about the art, and we all get some type of enjoyment out of these. It's 34 additional adventures of Indiana Jones, and again, some of them are great, some of them aren't so great, but each one is worth reading. They're a lot of fun, and again, it's part of the Indiana Jones universe. So what else would you want besides another movie?
Well, I mean, yeah, you got those adventures. So I enjoyed the series as a whole. I thought it was great, and we want to say too, as we're wrapping this up, big thanks to all the special guests who have joined us in the Raven's Nest over these last 3 years too. Just think about it. Richard Howell, Michael Golden, Denny O'Neill, Joe Duffy, Walt Simonson, Louise Simonson, David Michelini, Ron Friends, Elliot Massachusetts Brown, Howard Chaykin, Carrie Gamble, Dan Reed, Brett Blevins, Herb Trimpe, and of course, Stan the Man Lee for recording our intro. How great was that? I mean, that was a lot of great stuff there.
That was a nice little surprise. And of course, all of the guest reviewers who have helped us along the way, such as Ed Dollista, Mitch Halleck, Laird Malamud, Ron McGee, and Ron Longo. They all bellied up to the bar. Mitch especially with his warm Crystal Head vodka. Never forget that one. That was a good time. But
yeah, we got to review with him while we took the Crystal Skull tour, so that was
right.
Awesome.
That was so much fun. We left the Crystal Head vodka in the trunk of the car.
Is that best episode ever?
One of the best episodes ever. I think we all had a good time doing that. You know, by the way, Joe, speaking of Kerry Gamble, our buddy Derek Cook over at monsterkidradio.net, he's been a true podcasting brother, getting the word out about the IndyCast and further adventures. He will be talking to Kerry Gamble on an upcoming episode of Monster Kid Radio, so be sure to check it out.
Oh, can't wait to hear that one. That's
Me too. Looking forward to it.
Yep. And hey, Keith, we have got some housekeeping to do before we close up shop here. It is time to announce the winners of the biggest Further Adventures giveaway we've ever had. We are giving away 2 sets of Further Adventures of Indiana Jones comic books. Set 1 contains issues number 1 and 2, The Icons of Ikemanum, one of our favorite storylines, part 1 and part 2. Issue 15, signed by Herb Trimpe. Issue 25, signed by Michael Golden. And we're including the Dark Horse Free Comic Book Day Temple of Yearning. Set 2?
That's right. In set 2, we got issue 23, signed by Michael Golden, Master of Kung Fu, issue number 21, which includes the rare Indy in His Office splash page by John Byrne. And again, the Dark Horse Free Comic Book Day, the Temple of Yearning. The time is here, folks. It's time to decide who gets these 2 sets.
That was the task, was to bring to life one of these covers of the Further Adventures of Indiana Jones, one of these 34 covers.
Oh, man, and we got some really good ones,
We got some pretty cool ones,
yeah.
I mean, it was a lot of work. We do realize that, so, it wasn't like, 50 million entries or anything coming in, but it was a lot of work. But for those that took the time to do this, we loved each and every one of them. So
fantastic.
Yeah, we want to kind of run these down a little bit. One of the entries we got in by Alan McKernan. He did issue number 20, The Cuban Connection, which was the cover done by Joe Brzezowski, based on an original concept by Elliot Massachusetts Brown, where Indy's like running from the plane. Alan wrote, well, after a long, hard winter, I finally have it. So glad I didn't run out of time. Totally enjoying your segment, because I never knew these even existed back in the 80s, so thanks. Well, thank you, Alan. Who was up next?
Up next was Jared Feinstein, and Jared sent us the issue number 13 cover, Deadly Rock, which was a fantastic cover done by Brett Blevins. And Jared writes, hi, I've attached a weathered copy of the cover.
Yes,
and boy, did he ever. He did a great job with that. He put some coffee stains on there. And man, issue number 13, Deadly Rock, that's just a great cover. He did a fantastic job doing that cover, so great job. Thanks a lot, Jared. Who's up next?
We also heard from Jamie Burns. He brought to life issue number 19, Dragon by the Tail, also by Brett Blevins.
A lot of Brett Blevins covers.
A lot of Brett Blevins, and I'm glad somebody took on Dragon by the Tail. I was wondering how this one would come off.
Yes.
It says, hi, Joe and Keith. My name is Jamie Burns. I love your bit on the IndyCast, and I hope you like my entry in your competition. I give you issue 19, Dragon by the Tail. Indy is my good friend Joe Scrivens, who risked life and limb to get the pose I needed. Also, many hours on Photoshop. And Jamie had a really nice corner Indy tribute. The Walt Simonson artwork that was in the corner there, I thought he really brought that to life. Pretty cool. So that was nice.
And Joe, one of the dangers of archaeology is not to life and limb, although that does sometimes take place, such as Jamie Burns' issue number 19, Dragon by the Tail cover. Great job, guys. We were hoping somebody would do Dragon by the Tail, and you did it. Great job.
That's right.
Our next entry came from Michael Burke, and he sent us the issue number 31 cover, Big Game. Fantastic cover by Keith Pollard. And Michael writes, issue 31 recreation. Really enjoy the further adventures. Hope you guys continue on to the non-Marvel comics. And man, Big Game. Yeah, this looks great, man. The only thing is we were hoping maybe for some type of Bigfoot somewhere. But, hey, get everything we want, right?
Well, we were hoping for that in the storyline, too.
Exactly. Great job, Michael. Good job.
And the last entry we had was from Derek Spire. He did issue 13 as well, Deadly Rock by Brett Blevins. It says, hey guys, I figured my best chance was to think outside the box. At least I'm pretty sure to get a laugh out of y'all. So thanks for that one too, Deadly Rock. Yeah, he recreated with a Han Solo action figure and a TIE fighter. It was a Lego TIE fighter.
Well done. Well done.
So very cool. So some great things. Hey, again, great entries. It was so close. We're coming down to this, but there can be only 2. So we will say that our top 2 entries, the first one, the set 1, goes to Alan McKetchern for issue 20, The Cuban Connection. That one was pretty cool. I really felt for him in this because like those bullets are flying, and it just like, how did you get that? That's so cool.
It looked great. That's the thing. We just didn't quite know how he pulled it off, and it just was very, very well done.
No, I mean, I don't know if he actually got shot at. I mean, it looked.
I hope not. I hope not. We didn't want anybody to go out there and get shot or get, dragged by dragons or anything like that. But
cool,
it looked great. Great job, Alan. Congratulations.
Yep.
And the winner of our number 2 set, which was issue 23, signed by Michael Golden, and Master of Kung Fu issue number 121, and Dark Horse Free Comic Book Day Temple of Yearning, goes to issue number 13 by Jared Feinstein. Congratulations, Jared.
Yeah, that one was pretty cool too. And again, a lot of those details. That picture looks like it had been in somebody's long box for a long time. You get some staples on there and some really cool things. So a lot of good details and. The chain flying up and so many cool things. So close. I mean, these entries were so close. I love Dragon by the Tail. I love that corner artwork. So close on these, and really appreciate everybody sending those in. And Keith, they really did work hard, didn't they?
They did work hard on it, didn't they? They did some really good work. So I think you got
anything for our 3 runners up?
I think I know Indy would definitely want to give something to all the runners up. I mean, we do as well. You guys did such great work. So what we're going to do is we're going to give you guys a special corner indie artwork by Walt Simonson, a bookmark. We made some bookmarks way back in the day of that Indie in the Corner picture from all the Further Adventures comics. We're going to send each one of you guys one of those bookmarks as a consolation prize for doing such fantastic work. All you got to do is just send us your addresses, and we'll get those out. We'll get all the prizes out to you guys.
Everybody get us your addresses.
Everybody get
thanks
something
for pitching
today.
in. That was fun. We really had a fun time with that.
Hey, what do you say we check out the emails, Joe?
Mister, get your arm out of that mailbox. I mean now.
Oh, dear me. I haven't had so much trouble delivering a package since the incident in Vienna.
Well, we hear from our good buddy Martin Gerung from Facebook, and Martin writes, I can't believe you've wrapped this up after all this time. Neither can we. It seemed to stay with us for like ever. I'm sure Joe feels that way too. What a shame this great series ends. I love this segment of the IndyCast. I do have one request. Is it possible that you guys could release the Further Adventure segment separately when you've wrapped it all up? Would be great to have it as a separate MP3 file. Thanks for your contributions and congrats for all you've achieved in the past 3 years. I can't wait to hear more from you. Writing the Dark Horse, hopefully. Thanks so much, Martin. We really appreciate it. Yeah, thanks a lot for that message.
Appreciate that, and good idea for that. It's we're not though going to be releasing this as a separate MP3 file, but what we can say is that we are going to be posting a Further Adventures episode guide on our Facebook page and also on the Further Adventures thread on the Raven Forum. So we'll get you a link for that as well. But what that'll do is it can tell you which episode of the IndyCast we reviewed certain issues, we had certain guests on, so you can kind of go through that, and that'll help you figure out which episode of the IndyCast those things are, so you can check that out. But thank you so much, and we appreciate you listening as well.
Exactly.
And, Keith, one thing Martin had mentioned there, he said, hopefully riding the Dark Horse. We've been asked about this as we kind of get to this as we're wrapping things up. Many people have emailed us. They've asked us on our Facebook page. Ed Dollista, when he was here with us in the Raven's Nest, he was kind enough to extend the offer to continue this segment on the IndyCast as well. Yeah, that's right. Ed did mention all those Dark Horse comics. I mean, there were quite a few, Joe, as you know. Lots of series there. Some Young Indy stuff, too. Tons of Mad Magazine specials. All the parodies that Indy has been in. Countless books. Scrooge McDuck. Muppet Babies. Exactly. There's a lot of things out there, yeah. But we just want to say that just like the Raiders Red Line continues for Dr. Henry Walton Jones Jr., the Further Adventures of Indiana Jones will continue. Yes, Keith and I are going to take a little break from the regular segment before returning with our review of Marvel Comics' adaptation of Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. And that comes just in time for the 25th anniversary. And unfortunately, while Marvel closed the book on Further Adventures in 1986, the House of Ideas returned to the world of Indiana Jones with a 4-issue adaptation, and so shall we. That's right. We are going to be back with Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade.
And until we return, don't forget to check out the previous episodes of the IndyCast with the interviews of the creators of that book, the writer of the adaptation, David Michelini, who was on IndyCast number 138, and of course the artist and cover artist, Brett Blevins, which was on the IndyCast number 162 and 163. Don't miss those. We do talk about the Last Crusade adaptation in those interviews as well.
That's right. And following our review of Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, we're going to take another little break, and then the Further Adventures of Indiana Jones will return on a semi-regular basis with our reviews of Indy's run in the Dark Horse comics. Now, these segments are going to be closer to the John Williams specials that we all look forward to from Laird Malamed and Ron Longo. We're not going to review issue by issue, rather we're going to go series by series. And we're also going to include a look at the Young Indiana Jones Chronicles from Dark Horse. And as we mentioned, there's a few of those things out there. Was it Fate of Atlantis? Shrine of the Sea Devil.
Yeah, the Golden Fleece. I mean, Sargasso Pirates. There's been, Spear of Destiny. Yeah, there's just been, and also don't forget the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull adaptation as well.
That's right,
so
that's right.
We got all that coming up for you guys. And like we did with Marvel's run from the 80s, we intend to have a lot of special guests joining us in the Raven's Nest to have a drink, a drink. And talk about the four-color adventures of Indiana Jones.
That's
but
right.
That's not the only thing we're going to have coming up for you guys.
No, there's a lot. And Keith, we talked about this, just sort of going on to a semi-regular basis with this and not just so much on the regular basis. You're still going to hear a bunch of us on the IndyCast because we've got a lot of projects in the works that we've been trying to get to. You've got a radio drama that you are sort of knee-deep in right now.
We are knee-deep, and this is a good opportunity to kind of give you guys a quick update on what's going on with the new radio drama. We got a new writer. We've been in touch with a brand new writer who's very interested. His name is Timothy Bungaroth, and he's been knee-deep in Indyland right now, and he's taking my ideas and he's forming them into what is a pretty exciting adventure. And we are really looking forward to bringing this to you guys, hopefully within the next couple of months. So that is coming up. We'll start releasing more information both on the IndyCast Facebook page and on the Further Adventures Facebook page. So stay tuned for all of that. We also got a couple of extra things coming along too, right? Some of the read-alongs.
We've talked about one other thing we've talked about too. We teased it so long ago too. Was there's another radio drama we've got coming up that we promised was going to feature Willie Scott. So this is going to give us time to sort of work that out a little bit. The read-alongs, too. We had our first read-along, and it's been so long, but we promised we're going to be getting that second read-along out there, Spell of the Skull, Indiana Jones.
All the materials are ready. Yep.
They're there. We're going to get that out, too. And if you really just need to hear my voice, you can always check out comicbookcentral.net. You can hear me talking with the legends who have brought comic books to life on movies and television on comicbookcentral.net. So I'm there every Friday. But we've got a lot of things that we want to get to. So, you're going to be hearing a lot from Keith and myself, whether you want to or not. We're going to be out there. So, so we're going to keep doing Further Adventures on a semi-regular basis. We got the radio dramas, the read-alongs, a lot of good stuff coming up.
Okay, that's it for the day then.
Oh, never before were those words more poignant on this segment. That is it for the day. It is it for Marvel's 34-issue series of The Further Adventures of Indiana Jones.
But it is not it for the Further Adventures on the IndyCast. I mean, just like Indy, we will return for more Indiana Jones adventures. Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, the Young Indiana Jones Chronicles, Indiana Jones and the Fate of Atlantis, all of the miniseries from Dark Horse Comics, special guests, giveaways, and so much more.
And Keith, who knows, by the time we get to Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, we might have an Indy 5 adaptation from Marvel Comics? Can it be?
Oh, man, how cool would it be to come full circle with all these adventures? That would just be a dream come true.
Full circle. How awesome would that be? So The next time you listeners hear from us on the IndyCast will be our review of Marvel Comics adaptation of Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. Next time on
The Further Adventures of Indiana Jones.